we're working. We're in the lab, and we're gonna make sure this happens as soon as possible.
Welcome to an episode of the Sports Genes Into the Lab podcast, where sports analysts and experts dissect the latest news from the NBA and NFL, giving you a unique view on some of the hottest topics around your favorite teams. From the fresh field smells of the NFL to the hardwood courts of the NBA, and possibly your comfy couch for your fantasy football team. Let's see what kind of news the lab is working with today. Here's your host from the Sports Analytics headquarters in San Antonio, Texas, Ernest Silva.
All right, we are back. We are back with divisional round football, Chris Connor. I'm excited. Episode 26 of the Young Season 5. I'm your host, Ernest Silva, powered by the Sport Gene in the Into the Lab movie studios in San Antonio, Texas. Joining me today, hopping on the air, is none other than from the Last Call podcast, Chris Connor. What's up, brother?
Not much of it. I'm still just in shock of the Cowboys losing to the Packers and just causing chaos. I mean, people aren't now talking on our podcast. Certain people are feuding. And all across New England, people are wondering why Jerry Jones did not fire Matt McCarthy and name Bill as the head coach. I'm telling you, it's chaos.
I don't really have words for what happened in Dallas, if I had to be completely honest. Most people thought I would probably react like this, and they probably wouldn't be wrong on a regular.
What?
But it wasn't quite like that, and for reasons probably because I was with the family and we were bowling for the first time, all four of us, and I got to see my little boy trying to throw the bowling ball, and Lily was bowling. We're having such a good time. Like, I didn't care that they were losing, so that's probably what it was. But by the time I looked at the score, I think in the second quarter, it was more like this.
What?
I just couldn't believe what I was looking at.
Oh, come on. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. You have a new mistress. And that mistress are the Houston Texans. The Cowboys are like the old wife. They're a starter wife. The Texans are now your new hot, like, hey, I got a 22-year-old supermodel for a mistress. Hey, CJ Stroud, you look good. Hey.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I will say I was, and we're going to talk about the Texans. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cowboys too, mostly about the Packers. We're going to talk about that next. But I was shocked and shocked for numerous reasons. If you have any questions today, betting advice wise, you definitely want to ask us. We had a pretty good weekend, even with the shocking Cowboys loss. It didn't kill us. But before we get into the news and we talk about some of the latest headlines, let's first introduce the new man that came in on stage. That's right, Just Luke joining us. Just Luke, what's up, brother?
Hi, friends. How are you?
Oh, man, we're living the dream over here. How are you doing?
Trying to survive Snowmageddon here in the East Coast, Just
I hear you. I hear you.
Find us upstream. But, Ernest, I did faintly hear that you said you didn't have any words for the Cowboys loss. Well, in my infinite wisdom, I decided to search the interwebs, and I found a letter that I would think describes how you're feeling from the Dallas Cowboys fan base. If you would love me to read this to you.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we'll give you center stage.
So it says, Dear Cowboys, I don't hope this finds you well. I hope it stings, actually. About as how much it stung to watch you fall short in the playoffs again. The ups and downs are a natural part of sports, but the way you continue being losers at the end of the season, every season, should be studied. If it were the goal to lose, you would be the greatest losers of all times, or gloats. There was an 8-year-old kid excited. There I was, an 8-year-old kid excited, full of life, and yet here stupid. My dad walked in a blue and white jersey, turned on the television and said, "Son, come watch the Cowboys game with me." And that was the moment that I should have walked away from my dad and never spoke to him again. I didn't realize we bonded, and I've shared that bond for over 30 years now. And it pains me to know, although my dad claims he loves me, he wanted this for my life. It has been 30 years since the 5-time champion Dallas Cowboys have tasted true victory. Yes, 30 years. Do y'all know what people have accomplished in 30 years? Let's start with the internet. The Dallas Cowboys can find a win in a damn football game when it matters. My final thoughts, although you've saved me a lot of money by never forcing me to attend a Super Bowl, still hurts when I think about the fact that I've attended at least one game every year for over 10 years now. Oh, man. Every season with the Dallas Cowboys feels like a repeating Linkin Park song because they tried so hard, got so far, but in the end, it never matters. This decision is not a reflection of any particularly bit of disappointment, just a natural evolution of my interest. I am done. Signed, Dallas Cowboy fan.
Yikes! Well, hey, a big applause. If I had a applause queued up, I would definitely start playing it right there. Thank you, Just Luke, for that. I think the biggest thing, and I hate to play it, with the Dallas Cowboys was this.
A fraud! A big fraud!
The F-bomb is absolutely there for the Dallas Cowboys. It was very unfortunate. I did get to watch that game. I got to witness all the nonchalant points get scored after they were down 48-16. Just an embarrassing thing. Just want a big shout out for our overarching mothership. Hashtag what's in your DNA. Join the Sport Gene today if you have any interest in starting your own podcast or being a part of our wonderful group of content creators. DM me today at the Sport Gene on twitch.tv or, of course, at IntelAppPod where you're watching or listening today. All right, round number 1 is off and running. Let's talk some football. Let's talk about some of the latest headlines and the reactions to this past week. We'll start off in Dallas, and that is Jordan Love goes perfect. 158.3 passing rating against the Dallas Cowboys, throws 3 TDs, was absolutely masterclass performance for him. It's not the only quarterback we'll be talking about today from last weekend. But Jordan Love did everything he needed to. Aaron Jones was spectacular in that game, like he usually is against Dallas, coming back home to Texas. Chris Connor, you're not a Cowboys fan or analyst, so let's start off with you. Your thoughts on Jordan Love's performance?
I mean, what can I say? He was brilliant. This is my one gripe about a performance. It was easy because when you look at it, they played zone, and even Romo was going, why are you playing zone? What the F are you doing here? Why? Or not Romo, but Greg Olson was like, why are they playing zone?
Yep.
What are they doing? Why? And you would look at that, they'd get pressure, he'd throw it up, and he knew that, okay, there's a guy right in the middle, whether it's Musgrave, whether it's Dobbs, who's just sitting there like, I'm open, throw me the ball. I mean, look, the Dallas Cow. I know that Dan Quinn's considered a defensive genius, but man, he probably cost himself head coaching opportunities with that performance. That was just god awful, horrible.
I mean, maybe, right? Like, Love goes 16 for 21, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, leads a 48-point performance. The team was firing on all cylinders. The defensive scheme was just horrific for Dallas. They never stopped them, but one time, twice maybe by the end of the game. Just Luke, you had to bear through the performance as well. Your thoughts on Jordan Love? Was it just that he played that phenomenal, or did Dallas just stink?
I think the scheme that they put together was just better against the Dallas Cowboys. Like, when you see there and you see these plays that Jordan Love is making, there's no defender around them. Like,
right
within 3 or 4 yards. Like, the plays were just wide open. I mean, it was big chunk plays that the Green Bay Packers really, feasted on that defense. And, I love razzing you about the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, you know it's one of my favorite pastimes to do. But when it really comes down to is your defensive player of the year for Dallas and the defensive player of the year for the Cleveland Browns, because I know we'll talk about them later, combined for 3 tackles, no sacks, no tackles for a loss, no passes batted down, and your defenses gave up 957 yards of offense in 2 games. So you tell me, Michael Parsons, whether the 49ers were in your head, whether any of these other teams were in your head before you even decided to go out there and play on Sunday, because you got smoked.
Yeah, the scheme was bad. And I think even the Packers sidelines, like, we obviously saw Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love kind of like, why is this so easy in celebrating? You
Right.
saw it, right? Like when you look at the sideline, like LaFleur's like celebrating the first 3 touchdowns, like, how in the world are we doing this? I'm excited. And then realize this is just boring. Like they absolutely fucked this up. Like that's what happened. Kind of crazy. It was a crazy circumstance. Before you know it, it's 27-0, and it's towards the end of the second quarter. You're like, what is happening to Dallas? And can this really be happening to Dallas? I know Kenny and I were joking, saying slam the money line. They're going to come back and win this. But as a Cowboys fan, what else are you going to say, right? You got to hope that they just flip the script. Just a crazy turn of events. I was really impressed with Jordan Love. I was impressed that they were able to navigate the waters. He really, I mean, Aaron Jones is the MVP of that offense, and what his performance was, and he was the absolute best complementary piece to that. And the Packers ran away with it. We'll have to see if they're the real deal, right? Against San Francisco, they're going to have a huge uphill battle and test this weekend, which we'll talk about later. Let's talk about something a little bit less grimacing for most Texas and Texas listeners. It's CJ Proud time, right? We told you guys last week it was going to be CJ Proud on this show, and we were going to be very excited, and it happened. CJ Stroud had a masterclass himself, near perfect passer rating himself, 157.3. Also threw for 3 touchdowns, just annihilated the Cleveland Browns defense. 2 pick sixes iced the deal there for the Cleveland Browns, and Flacco looked like his retirement self, which we'll be probably hearing about soon in this offseason. I'm not gonna start off with the analysis on this one. I'm gonna end with it again. But just Luke, division foes, nothing goes around the toilet like the Cleveland Browns. What the hell happened to Cleveland?
Joe Flacco turned back into the pumpkin that I know he is. You know, it struck midnight in Houston. It was time for him to call it quits. The biggest thing is I didn't realize how bad the Cleveland Browns defense is on the road, but they rank in like the bottom 10 of the league while on the road this season in the NFL defense. And I didn't realize it was that bad. But Houston ran the ball willingly on them. And I thought the screen game was going to be huge for them, for Houston. They just said, fuck it, we'll go downfield. Like, we'll just throw it up to our guys. Our guys are better. We can figure it out. And that's what they did. And I'm very, very surprised by this Houston Texans team. I think they're super underrated for what they've done so far. And you could really tell that Joe couldn't take a week off. Like, you could just tell that offense just wasn't the same. You could say, like, oh, he's 37 years old. He knows the routine, blah, blah, blah. He was also 37 years old and sitting on the couch for the first 10 weeks of the season. The man needed to play. Like, he didn't need to sit. He needed to play the whole game. And you could just tell that offense was just not clicking. You could tell the injuries on that side of the ball just finally caught up to him. Not a great offensive line. Offense is banged up. You know, it's just the Houston Texans defense had a better scheme for Joe Flacco than the offense and Kevin Stefanski put together to go against that Houston defense. And let's face it, the offensive line coach and the running backs coach is far from the issues of the Cleveland Browns, and they fired both of those coordinators. So you tell me what the real issue is. How about our defensive player of the year getting 3 tackles? Like, how about that? Like that is the extent of that. And our defense gave almost 500 bills on the ground and through the air. Like, that's the problem. Like, figure that part out and let me know. Oh, and hey, by the way, you built this Houston team, you clowns. And guess what? They still have 2 more first-round draft picks. You did this to yourselves, you clowns.
Completely agree. I will say this: most of Texas on the first pick 6 did this.
Give me a hell yeah!
Second one, we can't repeat on the air. It was just fucking.
Yeah.
Connor, you and I talked about the trenches, right? We talked about winning on the line. What did you see in that game, and was it what you predicted?
Was what I predicted. I want to say first for Cleveland. I mean, there's only so far you can go when Jerron Christian and James Hudson are your tackles. Now, hopefully next year, Conklin comes back and Jedrick Wills. I think that'll be a huge, a much bigger thing. I do want to give a shout out to Bobby Slowick, though, because they did a very interesting thing I noticed during this game, and that was usually, as I said, the first game, Cleveland got after the quarterback, and yes, Stroud was out, but second game around, we saw a lot of Devin Singletary sometimes, or even one of the tight ends, or Dell Schultz, like just chip. You get your Myles Garrett, we're going to chip you. All of a sudden, instead of taking on one guy, he's taking on 2. George Font came back. I think that helps, and that's how you got to do it. If you go one-on-one with Myles Garrett, that's a recipe for disaster. If you start chipping him, all of a sudden that's some extra time. Their cornerbacks, outside of the left cornerback for Cleveland, not that good. So, credit to Slowick. He went, okay, I can't just, rely on our tackles to hold up, so I'm going to use the running back, I use the tight end. And look, Cleveland is just that. I give him credit. I give credit to Stefanski. When you start losing Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, Grant Delpit, Rodney McLeod, Deshaun Watson, Jedrick Wills, and you're still in the friggin' playoffs, that's saying something. But as I said, kudos to Slowick. He made sure that the offensive line was not the issue. He made sure that they attacked the secondary, especially with safeties of Cleveland.
For me, it speaks more too about how much DeMeco Ryans has brought this football club back, right? Like, it was already up there that he was in my top 2 when it comes to coach of the year. And I know he's not your coach of the year, Chris Connor, but for me, he's my coach of the year. Like, you brought a team from poverty up, and I know CJ Stroud is a big piece of that, but he had to get that defense where it's at as well. Will Anderson, a big piece of that, right? So Nick Caserio obviously has to be up there for GM of the year too, for all the pieces he brought in. He's got to be up there as a finalist. I think Houston showcase just how dynamic the offense and defense can be. They're a big play team, and the big plays hit. They're hard to beat. And you're going to find again that they will take the big play shots against Baltimore this week. And we're going to talk about that game in just a moment here on ITL. And so when watching this game, you could be a little worried, like Denzel Ward played, right? You're like, okay, so the defense is stacked, right? They brought back their stars. They're healthy. They're going to play. And for Houston fans watching the beginning of this game, it was nerve-wracking because are they going to stomp us? Is this going to be a comeback game? How are we going to respond? And I'm just happy Houston stepped up, came back from the early shots that Cleveland took, and then let the defense do their job and eat, right? They feast. And then CJ Stroud hit him with a big play. And all of a sudden, Brevin Jordan down the sideline, big plays to Nico Collins, Houston's winning, and they just ran away from there. Big shout out to Houston Texans fans. I know all the way around. I'm glad we're CJ proud. Let's see if we're going to be CJ proud again right after these quick off-season headlines here on ITL. And if you're listening, tune in. We got some betting plays. All right, true or false? Bill Belichick is going to be the Atlanta Falcons head coach. Bill Belichick getting his second interview today with the Atlanta Falcons. He did state, I want to go to a team that is high in talent but underperforming. Most people thought that was Philadelphia or Dallas, but it may be Atlanta. Chris Connor, is Bill Belichick already done? Should we be signing up? He's the Atlanta Falcons head coach.
Yes, I mean, this is if a second interview is like, okay, you're just finagling, like, do I have full say over all the offense, all the coaches? Do I have, can I pick my strength conditioning coach? Do I have some sane personnel? I mean, there's no other job. I mean, Washington has said no. Carolina has said no. Tennessee has said no. He doesn't want to go to the West Coast, so that throws out the Raiders and the Chargers. Patriots have already let him go, and I don't think he would go to Philadelphia because Howie Roseman is just going to be – that is like oil and water combination. So, look, I think this is the best job. It's the only job. It's going to be interesting to see, like, who goes with him. Like, who's the offensive coordinator? Is it Joe Judge? Is it Matt Patricia? Do his sons come along? Who does he get? How much power does he have in the front office, if any? Like, these are the questions going forward we're going to have to find out.
He inherits a team with Bijan Robinson as pretty much the foundational piece, right? And you go forth from there. You have great tight ends, so it's exactly up his playbook to have great tight ends there in Atlanta. And then the defense is not terrible, the middle of the pack. You add some key pieces there, you can have something there in Atlanta. I agree. Just Luke, Bill Belichick is aiming for most wingest coach of all time. Does he get it in Atlanta? Oh, we got our first mute of the night. That's a mute. There we go. One mute. We're gonna put the light on for that. That's right. Our first mute of the night. 2.5 over under is tonight's episode. We are at 1. Congratulations, Luke.
My brother in Christ. What am I doing? All right. So I actually was just talking about this the other day. All this sponsored by Petco, where the pets go. So we were talking about this today, actually. I think that has a big thing to do with Bill Belichick in this record. I think he wants it. The problem is, I think Andy Reid's got about 6 more years left of playing time than Bill Belichick does. So he might get it, and I think he will get it, but he won't hold it for long. Does he get it in Atlanta? That division's not great. Obviously, that division winner was 9-8 this year, right? Came down to the last week. Ohio State just signed Bill O'Brien to a deal for the OC job, so it's not Bill O'Brien going with him. I just want to say Dallas just because Jimmy Johnson was there. Like, it's just a place that where the great head coaches were at one point. So does he want to be put with like Jimmy Johnson them? I don't know. But it would be a cooler story, I think. But I mean, yeah, we'll say he goes to Atlanta, but I don't think it lasts long. Maybe 2-3 seasons at most. I don't think they've got a short leash with that owner. That owner's not young either. Like, let's be serious here. Like, he wants another one, or he just wants one actually. So
that is one headline you might have missed, just Luke. Mike McCarthy's been announced as coming back next year for the Cowboys. So yeah, that landing spot's out. But it would have been a really funny thing. So I could have played Chris Connor's reel over and over again to show everybody he called it while making fun of us. But no. And unfortunately, the General Steve Reisner cannot become a Dallas Cowboys fan still. So that's off the table.
But don't they have to trade Belichick then?
What's that?
Don't they have to trade for Belichick? Because he left on volition. He didn't get fired. He had to trade for him, right?
Oh, no, he was fired. It was just one of those things where everybody wants to be nice and polite, no drama. And all right, we agree to mutually part ways. Like, no, you got fired.
Ways. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if they needed to trade for him or not.
No, I personally think Bill ends up in Atlanta because where there's smoke, there's fire in this case, and I think there's too much smoke for him not to be going to Atlanta. It would be fun to see Saban join his staff just for funsies and see them ride that last coaching train together.
Ugh.
But we all know this is not Madden, and this is real.
Yeah.
Well, I will throw this out. Imagine next year, and call me crazy, Bill Belichick and Russell Wilson together, coach and quarterback. I mean, Atlanta doesn't have a quarterback. I don't see Kirk Cousins going there at a discount. They're too far out from a draft to really draft another quarterback. Weirder things have happened. I mean, it'd be like the ultimate, shotgun marriage. They drive each other crazy for a while, but call me, I can see it. The hoodie and Ciara's husband together.
I don't see that personally, but that's a great segue to our final headline for today, which is going to be Justin Fields starts week 1 for the, and I'm going to start this one because it's a great segue, the Atlanta Falcons. I think that is the trade. So if we take a look at where that pick lies, they have the 8th pick in this draft. Chicago would end up getting the 1st, 8th, and 9th pick in this draft, which if you follow some recent, success stories like Houston with multiple first-round picks in the top 10, it worked out well for them. And Chicago gets Caleb Williams. They get 2 very high draft picks, maybe a lineman and help on the defensive side of the ball. And Chicago's rolling with young, great talent. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up falling to them, or they use the picks to trade up to get him. I don't know, but Chicago would have those picks, and Atlanta gets their quarterback of the future, and Bill Belichick's rolling now with a quarterback that he likes, and possibly Bijan Robinson, the running back that he loves, and the tight end sets that he's always wanted, and now he's got a chance to chase that record. Chris Connor, for me, it's Atlanta for Justin Fields. What about for you? Where's Justin Fields starting?
Well, damn it, Luke left, so hopefully he'll be back. I'm going to tell us again. Your starting quarterback from 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers. That's right. It's going to be Justin Fields. It's the perfect marriage when you think of it. Steelers need a quarterback. They said they're going to bring in competition. They're not going to spend on a quarterback. They've never really done that. You're getting a guy who I think is perfect fit. It's not Kenny Pickett. So, yes, Justin Fields for a second-round draft pick to your Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin Fields, we're winning the division 24, and even just Luke will go, I can love this quarterback.
So we have Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons. We have Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That would take some needed help because I don't know if Pittsburgh's 20th pick would be enough. Maybe a couple future first rounders if that were the case. I don't know what you package there. Just Luke, you have the opportunity. Justin Fields starting where week 1 for the NFL?
The Atlanta Falcons. There's no doubt in my mind he goes to the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, the kid grew up in Georgia. He played for Georgia, transferred to Ohio State. The kid has Georgia written all over him. He wants to go back to Atlanta. There's no doubt in my mind. Will you stop squeaking that? Thank you. We're trying to make a point here.
That's right.
He sounded like Bill Belichick. They run a quarterback. Like, no, you shut up there. You don't run.
You know what the most bear thing would do, though, Ernest? Would be trade Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in a trade back, they would get this year's 2024 first-round draft pick and Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, that's who they would get back for sure. The return of Mitch in a Bears uniform so he can play 2 games and throw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in one of them in true Bear fashion. There are a couple other teams that I'd like to put on the radar just for anybody listening that cares. Washington has the 2nd overall pick. I don't know if Washington is all in on Fields. Who their head coach becomes and what they think of Justin Fields would probably be a big deal there. Other notable teams that have quarterback question marks would be the New York Giants at 6. Are they sold on DeVito? Are they going to go with Danny 2 dimes or 2 nickels? I just don't know. And then further down the list, you have teams like the New York Jets, who, if Aaron Rodgers comes back, there's no question there. If something unforeseen happens, maybe. And then teams like New Orleans, Las Vegas, other teams who are searching for quarterbacks in the teens. There are a lot of chances, right, for teams to grab Fields. I think Fields and Stroud break the Ohio State curse. I think they're good quarterbacks. I think they'll end up having long careers and being starting caliber quarterbacks. So I would take that chance if I was at the Atlanta Falcons. Just go after it. Get your guy. You got a great pick that's not going to break you. You know,
Let me throw. I want to throw out one wild card team, but we haven't talked about Seattle Seahawks. They're not.
At 16.
This isn't. Geno Smith's not there for the long term. That contract ends after this year, basically in terms of the guaranteed money. It's a new regime now, new head coach. They like running quarterbacks. They want a guy who's going to be mobile. It's not Locke. So you know what? I don't think it's going to be for a first-round pick. There's too many teams that are worried about, is Justin Fields the answer? You only have one more year left to figure it out. I think you can probably get him for like a second-round pick. So as I said, either Steelers,
I don't know if he's that
Seattle. It's going to be a team that you're looking, going, okay, we need a quarterback sort of now, but we don't want to have to give up too much draft capital. And hey, we know that Chicago needs to move on. They can't have Fields and Caleb Williams in the same QB room. It'll backfire.
Yeah, I completely agree. Other things to look out for, see what's happening with the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the offseason, see what happens with those quarterbacks. Obviously, you don't know what the futures are for those. Right after this short commercial break, we are talking divisional round football. We're going to talk matchups. We're going to talk some prop bets. We're going to give you an old clip from our Hoopathon. Hope you guys enjoy, and we are going to be right back after this short commercial break.
All right. So remember, triple double. If she hits the shot, we'll donate $500 plus our $10 on top of that. 100. So this is a $510 shot here for Avery.
Somebody is hitting this. Come on, get there.
She hits it. $500. $500 from Avery Hinojosa.
Wow. Sound.
What a great time. That was such a good shot down in Harlingen, Texas. Triple Double Basketball, one of the proud sponsors, longtime sponsors of the show. Super awesome. Avery Hinojosa went on to play college ball and one of the scholarship recipients for ITL and Triple Double. So super awesome. Hoopathon coming back this year. Going to be awesome down in Texas, San Antonio. Guys are coming. We're going to have a lot of fun here. First one sponsored by the Sport Gene and ITL all together. So tune in for more information on that and more information on the Sport Gene soon. Round 2 ITL Primetime Pick'em. It's not way too early. We're right on time. We have the information. We have the injury reports. We are ready to go. We didn't know we'd be calling this one. I mean, I did. But our first game is going to be a doozy. That's right. We're going to talk Ratbirds and we're going to talk Texans right now. Here we go. All right. The Baltimore Ravens are 9.5-point favorites for this divisional round matchup at home against the Houston Texans. This is going to be fun. Outdoor game. We're going to see what it's going to be all about. The weather's not the best in the world, but it's football weather, and this is what you play for. We're going to start off with the AFC North resident analyst, Just Luke. Just Luke, what do you see in this game?
I was first shocked by the line. 9.5 is steep for me. If you would have told me 6, I'd be like, okay, 3 points for the win, 3 points on the road. An extra 3.5 was very surprising to me where Vegas thinks Houston is. This is a huge game for Baltimore, whether you care to say that or not. You're at home. This is the best team you've had since Lamar won an MVP. You are the proverbial number 1 seed. You have to get this W at home, whether the weather would be perfect or whether it's the way it's going to be on Sunday. You need to get this dub for Harbaugh's sake, for Lamar Jackson's sake, after getting paid this year. yes, you've had injuries on both sides of the ball, but that defense is lights out when it needs to be lights out. I think the biggest thing is going to be Isaiah Likely, tight end for Baltimore, and Gus Edwards for Baltimore. Gus Bus has been good, especially from the 10-yard line and in. He's going to be He's going to be very crucial in the down and distance and to the goal line, at least in this game, I think for sure. And Isaiah Likely, since the injury of Mark Andrews, has been one of the go-to targets for Lamar Jackson in this team. I expect Zay Flowers to be healthy and ready to go. I expect Odell Beckham to be healed and ready to go. I feel like this team can be posed to at least get this W at home. 9.5 seems like a very tall ask. I can see 6.5. 9.5 is not me. So I'm going to take Baltimore at home. But by 6.5 is probably as far as I would go. And anytime touchdown scorer, Gus Edwards, I would take those two.
It looks like for the Ravens, Marlon Humphrey will be out for this game. So add some secondary help for Baltimore. Chris Connor, you've talked about Baltimore Ravens quite a bit on this show. Do you like the spread? Is this about right for you?
I do. And look, I've come around to the Texans. They're legit. Here's what scares me if you are a Texans fan, and that was against a depleted offensive line. David Njoku still had a big game, 7 catches, 93 yards. And look, Cleveland's offense is not that dynamic in terms of wide receivers. It's Amari Cooper, it's Njoku, and that's it. Ravens, look, we thought they were going to miss, Andrews. Mark Andrews is not going to be, once he was down, that's it. You write it off. But Isaiah Likely's been just a nice, surprise steal for Cambridge, Mass kid. Shout out from a local boy there. He's been, just a beast for the Ravens the last couple of, weeks. And he's, this is a guy who they'll look and go, all right, you're going to cover your Zay Flowers. You're going to put a lot of coverage against Odell Beckham. You want to, have a spy so that Lamar can't go out. Well, they're going to take advantage of that. They're going to, throw heavily to Isaiah Likely at times. So now it's up to Miko Ryans. All right, pick your poison. What do? Do you start an extra safety? Do you drop Will Anderson into coverage more? You got to figure out how not to let Lamar get those, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 9-yard, 10-yard dump offs to Isaiah Likely. Because if that happens, it's just going to keep, Stroud right on the sidelines, and Ravens will just slowly but surely chomp up, eat up, yards, eat up clock, and make it probably a 10-point win.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I'm going to go the other side of the coin, right? Because I'm not going to guarantee Baltimore. So I'm going to take Houston to win this game. But let me kind of talk a little bit about the spread. I think the spread is a little insulting to how good the Houston Texans are playing football right now. And CJ Proud will come out and do the same thing, right? He'll take those big play shots. He'll continue to put pressure on the defense and make them play 7 men out. Like they are going to have to cover these fast Houston receivers. So if I have to play devil's advocate to this, Devin Singletary is built for games like this. He is a stout running back that played in the AFC, that played in those northern states, and has made a career out of it. So you have the back that you need. Dalton Schultz showed that he has his experience, and it came through for Houston. Nico Collins showed he's a true number 1 against Cleveland. I'm not going to say Houston's going to go quietly into the night. Matter of fact, Houston may come out after the lull of Baltimore having about 2-3 weeks off from playing the game. They may come out firing and surprise Baltimore with a punch in the mouth to start this game. I love Houston first half leading. I especially love Houston after first quarter. If you can pound those points up, I would to 6.5. I actually love it. But if Baltimore cannot match the firepower and they fall under the trance of settling for field goals early, Houston may run out to a big lead that they can't catch up to. And Baltimore's not built to throw out of a game. They're built to run sustained leads and keep that clock moving. And I like Houston in this game a lot if they can jump out in front. So I'm going to take Houston Texans money line as my pick for this game. Chris Borak also leading with a 4-3 record in the wild card round. He is also taking the Texans money line. For those who want to track Chris Borak's picks, he's taking Houston money line. I'm taking Houston money line in this game. The safe play is to take Houston plus 9.5. The statistics and probability are 66.5%. Houston plus 9.5 is the safe play if you're trying to build a parlay out. There's your pick for your parlay. For us here, we're split on the panel, Houston and Baltimore. But I will say this. The prop bets are amazing for this game. So here are my 3 favorites. I'm going to go straight quarterback for you guys. So if you're playing prop bets and you're tuning in right now, this is the best time to do it. CJ Stroud, 21.5 attempts are his mark right now. Pound the over. I'm going plus 104 on that. That'll be on my early prop bet plays. Stroud, 1.5 passing touchdowns. If it allows same player prop bets, plus 140 right now. He's throwing for 3. Like, it's going to happen in this game. Even if they're down big, they'll keep throwing. I like Stroud over 1.5 touchdowns. And then Lamar Jackson's rushing yards is at 52.5 right now. I'm going to go ahead and push that up too. He will scramble out a lot of these sets. They're going to get early on pressure. I like Lamar Jackson. That's only minus 113. If you can push those yards up and turn it into a plus for you, I would, but I would stop about the 65 mark. And those are my prop plays for this game. Any prop plays for you guys?
This game, I will tell you last week, thank you, Josh Allen. I appreciate you. Thank you for 38.5 rushing yards for the cash, plus 110. I appreciate that. That was a good bet for me. I knew that was coming. So that was good for me. Like I said, anytime touchdown scorer, Gus Edwards. Like I said, anytime from the 10-yard line and Gus is getting the ball. So he's a machine when it comes to the red zone. So anytime touchdown scorer, Gus Edwards, that's a good play for me.
I love it. Guys, Saturday football. I don't hate it. I'm going to be all about it, especially with the weather here in Texas. It's going to get cold again. So bring on some football. We're going to take our conversation to Saturday night. San Francisco 49ers, 9.5-point favorites, number 1 overall seed versus the number 7 seed in the Green Bay Packers, 9.5-point favorite game as well. We'll start this one off with Chris Connor. Chris Connor, where are you seeing the money on this game, and who are you betting on?
I'm seeing the money go very heavily to San Francisco because, look, I like the Packers in terms of what they've done. They've overachieved. I didn't think they're going to be that good either. I thought, all right, I wasn't sold on the defense. I thought Jordan Love was, going to take more time than he did. They've done very, very well. I mean, Jordan Love has shown that he belongs in the conversation for top 15 quarterback. The running game is phenomenal, but now you have to think San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan and, with a defense which is loaded in the front, on their front 4 with Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Randy Gregory, Chase Young, Javen Kenlaw. They're going to put pressure because they're going to look and go, all right, we can't let the secondary get beat. We can't let the Packers do what they did to the Cowboys and, just run all over the place and play, RPO. So that's going to change. It's going to be interesting to see what the Green Bay Packers do on defense because it's not a great defense. There are holes, and where Dallas can be sort of very one-dimensional. I'm putting big money that, Christian McCaffrey is going to get at least 100 yards rushing, at least 1.5 touchdowns because I look at him and go, they're going to feed him the ball. They're going to pound the ball, take as much pressure off Brock Purdy as they can, and just force the Packers to have to load up in the box and go one-on-one with Deebo Samuel and George Kittles.
Yeah, I like San Francisco in this game a lot. It was going to be really hard for me to flip to go to Green Bay in this game. People probably would have called me just a trend setter at that point. I'm not going to follow the trend of people liking Green Bay. I am going to take San Francisco money line on this game. I think the spread's too much. Jordan Love and Green Bay Packers may just be playing fantastic football enough to give the 49ers a run for their money. I don't think it's a necessarily trap game for San Francisco. I don't think they're looking forward to anybody. So it's hard for me to say that Kyle Shanahan and team will have any sort of problems with the Packers. But there are a couple plays I like on here, especially at the running back position. So let's kind of run through what those prop bets are. CMC, I love 6 receptions. I like that mark. If you can get 6 receptions in this game, it's plus 196. I think it's a great call. Tony Pollard, who was not a high reception leader for the Dallas Cowboys, had 7 for 29. CMC will pass that yardage. I'm not saying to bet yardage, but pass catching wise, if he's open, Brock Purdy's ditching it to him, and it's going to happen over and over and over again as the Green Bay secondary reacts to Brock Purdy down the field. So I'm going to say CMC six catches gets you plus 196. That's great money. Aaron Jones, yeah, he had 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys. He at least gets 1. It's plus 100 for you. I like that play. If you want to do 2, that's plus 278, but I'm going to go 1 plus 100 is pretty solid. Aaron Jones gets in. I just don't know how many times. And I like the Packers in this game to keep it close to start things off. Again, with the 1 seed, rust comes in the first quarter. A lot of these 1 seeds come out slow. They kick field goals to start off. They lose the first quarter. 88% of 1 seed games since 2010, they've lost the first quarter. That's a big percentage. Do not fall into the trap of betting first half 1 seed. It'll get you. It'll take your money. I like San Francisco in this game, though. San Fran money line. Borak has San Fran money line as well. Just Luke, what you like?
This line I actually agreed with. A week of rest. I'll give Green Bay 3 points. The number 1 seed, 3 points. At home, 3 points. Makes sense to me on this one. Green Bay is playing with some house money. No Jair Alexander. That's going to hurt them a lot. He was a big time playmaker for them last week against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think he's going to play this week. That ankle, he's been hobbling on that ankle for a while. Re-aggravated it in the Dallas game. I don't think he plays this week. So that's huge for the outside. My biggest thing is Dallas just never got the running game going, or they just went away from it. And one thing San Francisco has taught me is whether it's working or not, they're running the football. They'll figure out a way to run the football. And this team needed the rest on the defensive side of the ball and on the offensive side of the ball. They needed the rest. At home, I think they probably run away with it. I think it's 14 points. They probably beat the Green Bay Packers at home, probably. My play for this game was Christian McCaffrey to score in the first half, minus 120. I mean, I think that's a steal. I mean, that guy's going to touch the ball. Realistically, I see him running the ball probably 24 times, 22 times, catching the ball probably 6 to 7 times. Probably 200 all-purpose yards and maybe 2 touchdowns. Like they will find ways to get him the ball. And I think the Green Bay Packers just haven't seen an offense this dynamic all year, realistically. And then they definitely didn't see a dynamic offense last week. They're gonna get a rude awakening this week.
Yeah, will be a game. Again, follow our prop bets. Let us know if you hit. We'd love to see those receipts. And of course, if you're following on the pick and you want to see a pick 'em right, I'll do a little mini one. That is a TSG guarantee, right? San Francisco money line. Put that on there with your Houston plus 9.5, and you have a parlay going. But unofficially, I'll let you know Houston plus 9.5. San Francisco money line. That's the halfway point right now here on ITL. If you're following along, that means you're taking great notes. If you're listening, get your notepads out. We're about to get to the final 2 games of this divisional round. First one being in Detroit right after this quick transition. Detroit Lions 6.5-point favorites against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a 2-4 matchup that we're excited, or sorry, a 3-4 matchup that we're really excited to see. Okay, Detroit won their game, very emotional win. They got their win against the Los Angeles Rams. Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the tails off of the Philadelphia Eagles. Not sure what's happening with Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. That Eagles org is going through some changes. Detroit looked every bit the contender that they've been featured as all year, and now they get to go and prove it at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love what Detroit's doing. They get their first win in 3 decades, and it's their first playoff win in 3 decades, and now they get to go against probably what everybody would call an inferior team in Tampa Bay. I do think Detroit is overwhelmingly more talented and has the case to really dominate this game from start to finish. Kudos to Baker Mayfield, another quarterback who I feel is overperforming where his circumstance was at. I don't think anybody had Buccaneers in the divisional round to start the year. None of them had them even winning the division. And here they are still dancing, top 8 teams in the league. So my breakdown in this game is that Detroit controls the clock. They're at home. They're going to have all the comfort in the world coming off of a win last week. Tampa Bay will throw out of circumstances. They may find themselves down 10 multiple times in this game and trying to come back in this game to make it a game and try to steal one on the road. A couple of prop plays. Jamison Williams, 55 yards plus 184. That to me is just one play. Jamison Williams can have one play and break that by himself. I like him in this game. Sam Laporta, I was mentioning before the show, I got it up to 60 yards plus 168, and I felt very comfortable on my prop builder. If you're going to bet those are the yards, guys. They're going to be covering St. Brown with a double coverage over safety. I expect them to really be throwing to other positions and to Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't have a Gibbs play for this game, so Williams, 55 yards, Laporta, 60 yards. I like Detroit in this game. I'm taking Detroit minus 6.5 to take care of business in this game and not be close. Luke, what are your thoughts?
I think first of all, congratulations to the Bucs. All right, I didn't believe you had it in you. I didn't believe you had. I don't think the world really had believed you had it in you to get a dub last week. So first of all, congrats on that. That's good for that organization and good for Baker, honestly. Detroit, I think last week's game, you really proved a lot to the world because there was a lot of people outside the world that didn't believe you could win that game. And, there was a lot of stuff riding that game. Obviously, the Matt Stafford stuff. The first game at home in 30 years, like their first playoff win in 30 years. Like, there was a lot going on last week for you guys to get a dub against that team. Good on you. That's a good home win in the playoffs for Detroit. This is a weird game for me, man. Like, if good Baker shows up, like it could give them problems. Like, it could give them some serious issues. Cade Otton last week showed me a lot for that Tampa Bay team. Minus a couple drops by Philadelphia, that's a completely different game. So I can't take that away from them. I think Detroit gets this W at home. 6.5, I don't think so. I would go Detroit money line on this one just because, like I said, it's just a weird game, man. I'm waiting for like Mike Evans to show up, and he's kind of in a weird spot right now. The running game's in kind of a weird spot. Like, that whole team is just, I don't know. Like, if a couple things click one way, they could absolutely win this game by a field goal at the end. If not, they could lose by 14. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. The only play I had was Cade Otton over 28.5 receiving yards. I think he crushes that. That man, he is Baker's go-to guy in that offense right now, is the tight end Cade Otton. So I think 28.5 yards by Cade Otton, I think he crushes that this weekend. So I think Detroit wins at home. I'm comfortable if you want to say 3 or 3.5. But I think 6.5 right now is just weird for me. So I'm going to take Detroit right now.
Detroit 3.5 so far.
Ernest,
well,
or something, or we can't hear you, Ernest. So, Chris Connor, what do you think? What do you think of this game?
I will say this, and these are one of the things you and I can agree on. The slander of the last couple of years on Todd Bowles and Dan Campbell has to stop now. They've proven they're good head coaches. And look, I felt bad for Bowles when he was with the Jets. Never had a good quarterback. Had Ryan Fitzpatrick for the last sort of final years of his career. Been Christian Hackenberg, been Sam Darnold, Campbell. When he got to Detroit, everybody was making fun. Oh, we're gonna bite ankles and everything. Oh, he's another hardo. But these two guys have gotten the most out of their teams, most out of their players. I think it's going to be a highly offensive game. I'm not sold on the Detroit Lions defense. I think they have talented pieces, but they never seem to put it together. We've seen, during the season, like whether it's been Carolina or the Chargers or the Bears or the Saints, Cowboys, like they've given up points. Baltimore Ravens, they gave up points. This could be a game where Baker Mayfield just cooks because they have the weapons. Rashard White's been a boon for them, a third-round pick out of nowhere. You have, of course, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin playing for contracts. Trey Palmer's come along, so I think you could see at least 3 touchdowns from Baker Mayfield, 3 touchdowns, of course, from Jared Goff. I'm interested to see what happens for the one guy. It's Aaron. It's basically Hutchinson. He's the straw that stirs the drink for Detroit. If he doesn't get pressure, and he got a lot of it against the Rams, Detroit's going to be in trouble. And now he's going up against a Pro Bowl defense tackle, Tristan Wirfs. That's going to be the fights right there alone, but Trent's going to be worth it.
So who are you picking?
Call me crazy. I'm picking Tampa Bay.
I knew you were picking Tampa Bay.
I like Campbell. I like the Lions, but you know what? This feels like this is going to be year Todd Bowles. Like, all right, everybody said, oh yeah, he's not going to win without Tom Brady. You're going to fire him after the season. Bill Belichick's coming down to Tampa. Nope, it's the Todd Bowles season. Everybody, him and Baker Mayfield, middle fingers to everybody. You wrote us off. Screw you. We're coming back strong.
Can we, before we move on, can we talk about the reporter for this game? Did you guys hear that audio?
No, I did. It's like, is it gonna be cold in Detroit? Can you guys handle a cold? Bowles.
They're like, she literally looked. She looked at Todd Bowles and was like, have you seen the inclement weather? Have you guys done anything to adapt yourselves to the cold of Detroit? And he was like, they play in a dome.
Oh man, I have not seen that yet. So I'm look that up.
It was
if that was Mike Tomlin, he would have walked out and just wouldn't.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I am looking it up right now as we transition to probably the game of the week. Let's cue it up because I am excited to talk about this game. It's not going to be a snowball fight, but it's definitely going to be a fight. Buffalo -2.5 versus Kansas City. I think the spread is right on the money. This is going to be a dog fight. It's going to be whoever can just punch last in this game. Kansas City's trying to prove that they're not just a home playoff team. Buffalo's trying to get over that Kansas City hump and get to the AFC Championship. Guys, this is going to be a fun one. This is the way you end divisional round football. The NFL made the right call with this game. The referee group has been the most 50-50 referee group. I mean, they want them to just slug it out. This is the game. Taylor Swift in attendance. This is going to be phenomenal. Start us off, Chris. Who you got?
This is everything you want. It's Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. It's Brady versus, Manny Part 2. Taylor Swift or Haley Steinfeld? Do you like, the elusiveness of Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen just rumbling in there like a tank over small little cornerbacks going, get out of my way. I'm going to forearm smash you. I mean, the NFL right now is probably just like pants off, dance off. We got Sunday night, Allen Mahomes, the 7th game between those two. Oh, this is going to be delicious. Roger Goodell is just like, diving into a sea of money, just, almost naked, going, I'm going to make more money. We could even put this on pay-per-view, and people tune in. I got to admit, I'm excited because this is the 2 best quarterbacks in all football trying to see, all right, who is better.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is going to be the game probably of the playoffs so far, right? Unless Houston Baltimore ends up being a juggernaut fight. I don't know what else could come close to it in this round itself. Luke, your thoughts on this game? Who do you take? And Chris, who did you choose ultimately?
I gotta go Kansas City. I'm sorry. And until you slay Patrick Mahomes, he is like Dracula. You think he's down, you think he's out, but no. He just like he did a couple of years ago when Buffalo had it 27-24, 13 seconds left. We're going to the championship game. No. Mahomes just took the dagger. Or as Andy Reid said, you know, this is where, you know, you're a grave digger. It's time to just kill them.
There you go. Kansas City is the first pick for the game of the week. Just Luke, we got.
I mean, I think we can all agree, at least I think, that these are two of the most underwhelming teams that are in this position right now playing each other. They both seem the fact that they can't win. Like, they do win, but man, it's a show to watch them win some days. And now they have to play in Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes on the road for the first time in his career in the playoffs. That'll be a very interesting storyline. I'm sure we're going to hear about that all day and all night, Saturday and Sunday. Josh Allen. I was called crazy last week that the Bills had luck by some people on this panel. You know, that the Steelers would just win this game against Buffalo. But I digress. I was right in the end, right? The Bills end up winning that game. It was close for a while, but, you know, the Steelers find the way to lose. So I think the Kansas City Chiefs find a way to lose in this game. I think finally everything just catches up to them. They have to go on the road and play Buffalo in Buffalo. I think they get Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox back healthy. They both looked great. When they were targeting their tight ends last week, the offense was clicking. So I think when you really Joe Brady and you're up there in the box, you got to say to yourself, we have to get 86 involved and we got to get 88 involved. Like, those two right there have to be the center point of our attention in these games. And don't be soft. Get James Cook involved. The man was eating the Steelers defensive line last week. Like, you could have handed that ball to that man every down, and he was getting 4 or 5 yards of carry. Like, don't get soft. Like, this is the game. You want to prove that you can beat them, you beat them between the tackles, and you go after this defense. Like, L'Jarius Sneed's healthy. He's gonna be on Stephon Diggs all night. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. So you're gonna have to find Shakir. You're gonna have to find Gabe Davis. You're gonna have to test these linebackers that you know haven't been great in coverage this year for Spags in that defense. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox will cause huge issues if you let them. And Joe Brady has to realize sometimes it's okay getting the 5-yard out, getting the 5-yard in, the small digs, the small curls. And yes, Stephon, you might not get your touches this week, but in the end, you might be playing for Lombardi, okay? Like, you have to deal with this stuff. The tight ends are where it's going to be this week in this game. Now, on the Kansas City side of things, the offensive line was not great. Even in the cold and you can say, well, Luke, they won 26-7, like blah, blah, blah. That offensive line still didn't play great against the Miami Dolphins defense, who had Melvin Ingram playing for them. They had guys that hadn't seen the field in 2+ years playing defensive line and linebacker for them. And they were still getting pretty decent pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Did you see his helmet? It got destroyed. Okay. Like, they've got to figure that out, man. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't think they're going to figure it out now. Frank Russo looked great for the Buffalo Bills. And then replacing him with Von Miller, subbing in and out, they were having significant pressure against the Steelers offensive line, who for the last couple, I'd say like the last quarter of the season, they had been improving very well on the offensive line, and they just ran straight through him. I mean, just abysmally just destroyed the Steelers offensive line. So they've got to figure out. They've got to get Jerick McKinnon involved. They've got to get the short dumps, the short screens, the short outs. They've got to get Jerick McKinnon involved. Rashid Rice, keep doing what you're doing. You need to keep this offense chugging along. Like, you need to be the down and distance, 3rd and 7, hit the slant, first down ball game. Travis Kelce, you just got to find your way, man. Like, I don't know what the hitch in the giddy up is. I don't know if you're getting too old or the podcast is taking too much time in your life. Taylor Swift is taking too much time in your life. You've got to play your game, man. And you haven't been playing your game all year. And it's concerning to me. You're going to catch a good bit of their coverage. All right.
I want to throw this out here quickly for what Luke is saying. He's right. Yeah. But a big thing that people I think are underestimating, Terrell Bernard got injured the last game. He's been the glue for that defense linebacker where Matt Milano, gone. And Von Miller has turned into like old man Winkler. He's not playing this week. I mean, they said they hope, but when he didn't practice today, they don't think he's going to practice tomorrow. That's a huge blow because that's the guy who helps set the inside so that you're not running wild with Isaiah Pacheco. That's the guy who last time he played was covering Travis Kelce. Now you're relying on Tyler Makovich. You might use him with safeties. It's a whole different ballgame without Bernard and Milano. Those two guys for Buffalo have always been like the stars. You don't talk about them a lot because they're not the sexy names, but without those two, that defense gets just a lot less dangerous in the middle.
And you're right. But I will tell you this, Rasul, if they get to a Super Bowl this year, Rasul Douglas is a key piece in that equation. And that would be one of the best trades the Buffalo Bills have probably ever made. That Rasul Douglas has taken away a quarter of the field. Micah Hyde and I always forget the other safety's name. Jordan Poyer. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are pound for pound probably 1 through 5 best safeties in the league between Micah Hyde and him. And now you have Rasul Douglas on the other end. They can take a lot of the field. They take 3/4 of the field away. So that helps a lot. But you're right. The linebacking situation is abysmal for them too without Matt Milano. They've desperately missed Matt Milano. And I think it's Trey Edmonds that played for them, right?
Yeah.
One of the Edmonds brothers played for them, and he was a huge piece, and he went to Chicago in free agency. He was a huge piece of that defense last year, and they miss him too.
I will say that, and I saw the Rashee Rice comment from Tydreek, and I'm guessing you're probably a Buffalo fan because that I would be worried about Rashee Rice also. Like Rashee Rice has looked phenomenal. It's the most reliant wide receiver Patrick Mahomes has. He'll give him 12 targets this game. He will go after him if they're losing. And so those Mahomes passing attempts, you want to go up because they tend to lose high passing attempt games from Patrick Mahomes. So if you have to evaluate this game, one, Buffalo, you have to have a chip on your shoulder. You're going to have to come out here and win the line. First off, offensive line has got to control Chris Jones and the defensive line. If you can't control that and get James Cook cooking, it's going to be a long night for Buffalo fans. And it's going to be a lot of those paper bags. So my hypothesis to this is it's all about James Cook. If James Cook in the running game gets going, if he leads the game in rushing yards, Buffalo's winning this game. If you choose James Cook to lead rushing yards, plus 134. That's good money. I'd take it all day. I think Buffalo will be going through him. Their best games of their season, point differential plus 17.5 is when James Cook is leading rusher, not Josh Allen. Okay, so I think you got a game plan. I think Just Luke was right on it. The other piece to the Chiefs, got to get Travis Kelce back to Travis Kelce. Like, he needs to control the middle of the field. Buffalo gives up the 5th most points to fantasy tight ends, middle of the field. That's a big piece to that, right? Travis Kelce, first touchdown of the game, plus 900. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a statement throw. I think it's a statement analysis. I'm going to take Kelce to get that. That's plus 900. That's easy money. So I love those two things. To me, though, Buffalo at home, smashing tables, in the cold, revenge game, times like 5. I'm taking Josh Allen and the Bills to win this game. I'm taking the money line. So is Chris Borak. And we're all Buffalo except for Chris Conner. He's going to say, show me you can beat them.
As I said,
I agree with that.
As Andy Reid once said to us, remember, when it's grim, be the Reaper. Patrick Mahomes always loves just taking Bills fans and going, no, I am Freddy Krueger, bitch.
Yeah.
You're having nightmares. It's because of me.
I feel like the last thing on this, Ernest, is Joe Brady. This is a message between you and me, homie. All right. Take a deep breath, man. Spags' defenses, even though they haven't always been historically great numbers-wise, he will absolutely get pressure on Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, you will absolutely get pressure from Spags' defenses. You absolutely will. And you have to learn to realize you can take 5 yards and get the next play, man. Like, they're going to be sending 6, 7. They're going to be sending guys from places you've never seen before, okay? Just Joe Brady and Josh Allen have to absolutely have their best game of the year together on Sunday to get this dub at home.
I agree. I mean, that's always been the thing with Josh Allen. It's like, all right, he has a talent, but it's those, what the hell are you doing? Throwing in double coverage. What are you doing? Throwing into, like, deep, safety head, is over the top. And Brian Dable did a great job when he was with him. Like, all right, check it down. 5 yards, 7 yards, do be Tom Brady. That's what Mahomes, so it separates Mahomes and Allen. So Mahomes will go, okay, I'll take the short, completions. I'll do the small little things. Allen always seems to play that hero ball. And if they win, it's going to be Allen goes, okay, I'm going to be a smart quarterback and no more Brett Favre hero ball.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Turnovers are an issue for Allen. Control the ball, control the tempo, put it in James Cook hands. I like Buffalo in this game. Guys, that's tonight's episode. # what's in your DNA tonight? It's football. It's all football. We're excited. Good luck to your teams if they're still dancing. That's fun. Houston Texans fans, I'm right there with you. Got my Texans jersey ready. We're going to have some fun this weekend. For all of you guys that support this show, love you all. Thank you guys so much for being huge pieces of the show. Just Luke, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, Ernest, I appreciate you giving me a platform as always. You can find me on Twitter at Hearts2282. It's been a great year for ITL, man. Can't wait to see where the show goes. We're wrapping it up. Not a big NBA guy, so we're kind of winding down for me for the year. But it's always been great to talk sports with you guys and have a platform to talk. So I appreciate you guys. Love y'all. I'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Appreciate the hell out of you, Just Luke. Chris Connor, been a new regular on the show. Talk to people where they can find you.
You can check me out at lastcallpodcast.com. I'm on X on Last Call Chris C. Check it out. We just did an interview with New York's own Abraham Supernova. He's going to be fighting February 16th only on ESPN. Top Rank presents boxing is Oshaki Foster, super featherweight championship of the world. Check it out. Very wonderful guy, heavy-handed puncher. Very, talks about faith and God and a lot of good things here. You can also check me out on Instagram and on Facebook. It's once again Last Call Podcast. Ernest, it's been a pleasure so far, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. I am your host, Ernest Silva. Add into Lab Pod on most platforms you're listening, at the Sport Gene on Twitch.tv. Appreciate the heck out of you guys. You guys have a great Friday. Have a safe weekend. If you guys are getting that cold front, be safe again and have fun in the snow.